Good afternoon, we're here in South Africa. Lowen Smith from Winning at Change, sitting with my esteemed guest that I will introduce in a moment. He is the author of HCM BOK, the Human Change Management Body of Knowledge. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're going to just have a short interview and a discussion on change management, and we've seen change management evolve over a number of years, going back to the work of Lowen. We see John Cotter in the 70s. But I want to begin by asking you the question, where do you see change management 10 years from now?
I guess that change management has been changing a lot, and it's getting more and more popular. It's now not only a discipline for experts anymore. And I see that change management is becoming not only an important area for to manage projects, but also for any kind of leadership is going to be based more and more in change management. And so what I can see is that in 10 years change management is maybe is going to be one of the disciplines for engineers, for architects, for IT professionals, for project managers. Why not? We all have to deal with the human factor in our lives. Many things that we do could be organized as projects, and this is a very good practice. So why not use all of this potential to enhance our performance in everything that we've been doing in our life? So I see that in one side it's going to be spread all over many different professions. And at the same time, I think that the needs of the new generations are a little bit different than the needs of my generations in terms of human factor, human behavior, desires, values. So because of that, I think that also change management will also change a little bit and will be more aligned with this the trends and the needs or the demands of the new generations.
Having looked at that, this book has been written now and has taken a number of years to compile this book. The two questions that I then want to ask is, how important is it for this change management discipline to have a body of knowledge, and will this body of knowledge help us to transcend and step into the future of change management that you've been explaining?
I guess that it's important for any discipline to have different perspectives, different influences. And this book was written in a very practical and objective language, because we do believe that change management should be for everyone. And we avoid some concepts that are abstract, that are difficult, there are much conceptual and difficult to be understood by top management, by the project managers, the process professionals, IT professionals. So as we are in this movement of popularization of change management, we think that the language of this book is what makes the difference. It's a translation of a group of concepts, including some new concepts that are more adequate to the contemporary needs of the professionals in general, the good practices that has been applied currently. And at the same time, we organized the ideas of change management in micro activities and activities. Because for those professionals that usually has a more Cartesian thinking and logical thinking, quantitative. They like sequentials, controlling, scheduling. Their needs in terms of understanding such complex concepts are totally different than the psychologists, for instance. And my partner, Carla Campos, who wrote the book with me, the first version, she's a psychologist. And we had a lot of work to translate all those concepts and try to avoid the use of difficult concepts to be processed and digested by the professionals with different skills than those that are more relational. I think that one of the things that is important in HUCMI is that this is an endless book. The HUCMI will never be ready because everything is always changed. And change management is changing as well. So what we know today about change management is going to be certainly different in the future. That's why this is the second edition. In the near future, we will launch the third edition, which is, it's being developed in a crowdsourcing mode, which means that it includes an experience and techniques and macro activities that have been developed for many people from different cultures, from different countries, for more than 20 countries cooperating, collaborating, and now we are much more the organizers of the book than the writers, because this is not a book to be ready in a single edition. Actually, this is a book to keep being written and revised and improved, maybe forever.
I like and I agree with a lot of what you've said, but in today's world, people describe change management as soft and fluffy, or it's all about mugs and hugs. What is in this book that can reassure a leader of an organization that change management is a discipline, that's the word we've used, and not just something airy-fairy?
Okay. I think that the language that we use in this book is very pragmatic. And this is the language of the top management. This is the language of the CEOs. I used to be a chief information officer. I've been working with CEOs and the C-level in general. And the language of those guys are very quantitative. They love benchmarks, they love numbers, they love comparisons. And that's why our definition in terms of objective of change management, why should you use change management in a project, is to reach or even exceed the results expected by a project. And we show it using different benchmarks and surveys, research. And there's one thing that is important to say. We don't use our own researchers, because if you use an independent source, the credibility of this information is going to be higher. And that's why the CEOs and the C-level in general is paying attention, is checking the numbers, is realizing that it's not enough to deliver a project on time, on budget. What you really need is to deliver the strategic goals that motivated the investment. That's why delivering your strategy is not a single movement. It's about the continuing transformation of an organization. And that's why it's so important to think about the longevity of any organization and prepare now the future that is about to come. You can just follow the future or you can create the future. And this book is written in a very simple way. It's a very pragmatic and objective language. And that's why when the CEO and the C-level, they check this information, they can understand, because it's their language, not our native language as change managers or psychologists or social scientists. That's the difference.
Whilst we're talking here, you're talking about projects, you're talking about organizations. Can the information in this book be translated to help us with social change and change at a governmental level, or even looking at our country, South Africa? How could we use the principles in this body of knowledge to help us drive social change?
Actually, I would like to say that this book has been used also to support personal change. And I had a very good experience. Once I've met someone that I've never met before, and that guy looked at me and said, "Oh, you are Vicente Gonçalves. I've received your book as a gift, and it was very important in my life, in my personal life." And I think that every single change can be organized as a project, no matter if it's a social movement, if it's in a way to support the development of countries or new business or startups. No matter what we are about to do, it can be organized in stages, like having an initiation and planning phase, an execution phase, an implementation phase. We do it in our personal life, and sometimes we do it without the conscience that we are doing it. You plan your vacation. You have an acquisition phase if you want to rent a house, or if you buy a package to go to Europe, or to plan tickets, and actually you execute it, you implement it, and then you have the closing, because you have to go back to your home and unpack everything, give the gift. This is a project. There are deliverables, and there are stakeholders involved. Even if you travel alone, you probably will see someone, and you have to take care about yourself. You have to consider what you like to do, what you don't like to do, what you like to eat, what you don't like to eat. So it's always about human factor. It's also always about have a planning, and it can support change in any level. It can be in social level, it can be in a country level, it can be in a personal level as well.
Thank you very much, Vicente.
Okay, thank you very much.